A couple of weeks ago, I was looking for something beautiful to read. Something like The Alchemist or Siddhartha, spiritual, metaphysical, something to make my day beautiful. That's when I picked up The Prophet. This book is a masterpiece, the perfect Sunday read. Only about an hour long, but something you can read over and over and will somehow always find a way to bring a smile to your face. This book has been in printing since it was released in 1923, and Kahlil Gibran is the third best-selling poet of all time, right after Shakespeare and one of my favorites, Lao Tzu. In 1883, Gibran Khalil Gibran was born into a poor Catholic family in Bcharri, a village in the north of Lebanon. Lucky for me, Bsharri is about a 3-hour drive from where I live in Lebanon, so my cousin and I decided to take a little road trip to visit his hometown and museum where his art and body still lay today. So we began our trip to Bsharri, but on the way we had to make a stop at Baalbek, the temple of Jupiter, the largest and longest standing Roman temple left in the world. And so on our way to Bsharri, I'll read to you some of my favorite poems from the book, The Prophet. The Prophet, Al-Mustafa, has lived in the foreign city of Orphalese for 12 years and is about to board a ship which will carry him home. He is stopped by a group of people to whom he divulges the fruit of his experiences and the essence of his wisdom in 26 existential verses on man's life. And so he begins with love, but we will start with marriage. And the people spoke and said, "What of marriage, master?" And he answered, saying, "Love one another, but make not a bond of love. Let it rather be a moving sea between the shores of your souls. Fill each other's cup, but drink not of one cup. Give one another of your bread, but eat not from the same loaf. Sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone, even as the strings of a lute are alone, though they quiver with the same music. Give your hearts, but not unto each other's keeping, for only the hand of life can contain your hearts. And stand together, yet not too near together, for the pillars of the temple stand apart, and the oak tree and the cypress grow not in each other's shadow." Here's a little bit more about his past. At 12 years old, Gibran's mother immigrated to Boston with her 4 children, while her husband stayed in Lebanon, drowning in financial issues from a gambling problem. 3 years later, Gibran was sent back to Lebanon by his family because his mother wanted him to absorb more of his native culture. He spent his time painting, writing poetry, and studying Arabic, English, and French in a university in Beirut. And one of the elders of the city said, "Speak to us of good and evil." And he answered, "Of the good in you I can speak, but not of the evil. For what is evil but good tortured by its own hunger and thirst? Verily, when good is hungry, it seeks food even in dark caves, and when it thirsts, it drinks even of dead waters. You were good when you were one with yourself, yet when you are not one with yourself, you are not evil. You are good when you strive to give of yourself, yet you are not evil when you seek gain for yourself. For when you strive for gain, you are but a root that clings to the earth and sucks at her breast. Surely the fruit cannot say to the root, 'Be like me, ripe and full and ever giving of your abundance.' For the fruit, giving is a need, as receiving is a need to the root." 5 years later, in 1902, his 14-year-old sister died. He traveled back to Boston 2 weeks later, and the next year his mother and his half-brother died, leaving only him and his sister, who would work in New York as a seamstress, to support the two of them. Then Almitra spoke, saying, "We would ask now of death." And he said, "You would know the secret of death, but how shall you find it, unless you seek it in the heart of life? For life and death are one, even as the river and the sea are one. In the depth of your hopes and desires lies your silent knowledge of the beyond. And like seeds dreaming beneath the snow, your heart dreams of spring. For what is it to die but to stand naked in the wind and to melt into the sun? And what is it to cease breathing but to free the breath from its restless tides, that it may rise and expand and seek God unencumbered? Only when you drink from the river of silence shall you indeed sing. And when you have reached the mountaintop, then you shall begin to climb. And when the earth shall claim your limbs, then shall you truly dance." In 1923, the Prophet was released and received well in America. In 1931, Gibran died in a hospital in New York at the age of 48. His body was transferred to Lebanon, and today it still lies in his native hometown of Bsharri, and the monastery of Marsakis turned into a museum. Patient, over patient, is the captain of my ship. The wind blows and restless are the sails. Even the rudder begs direction. Yet quietly, my captain awaits my silence. And these are my mariners who have heard the choir of the greater sea. They too have heard me patiently. Now they shall wait no longer. I am ready. The stream has reached the sea, and once more, the great mother holds her son against her breast. Reading books like this really makes me appreciate Audible actors, because damn, it's pretty hard to really enunciate and to give a book life, and how you read it, it's super challenging. But I love these types of books, universal wisdom that you can apply immediately to your life, messages that leave a beautiful impression on your consciousness, a reminder of love, beauty, and unity in a world divided by beliefs. To me, everything that you intake, every image, every video, every poem, leaves impressions on your consciousness. And the more you intake beautiful imagery, the more beautiful your life becomes. You have to read this book. You can get The Prophet pretty much anywhere. It's even free on Spotify, but I believe it's a book that you must read visually, and that it doesn't feel the same being listened to, even though I just read it to you. I hope you enjoyed this piece on Gibran Khalil Gibran. May he rest in peace. Thanks for watching and supporting the channel. Have a wonderful day.